You're watching Infosec Bytes, a crash course in information security for journalists. We're based at the Centre for Investigative Journalism in London and supported by the Logan Foundation. This is a tutorial on how to do encrypted chat on the Tails operating system using an application called Pidgin. This video is provided for information only. It cannot replace the advice of a trained security professional. If lives or safety depend on your security, please seek the advice of an expert. The Centre for Investigative Journalism is a pioneer in providing expert information security training services to journalists and journalistic institutions. To consult with an expert through the CIJ, or to arrange a CIJ training session, contact the address on screen. This video is part of a series on the Tails operating system. If you haven't yet, make sure you watch our other videos on Tails. Click or tap on the pop-up message to access them. If you're a journalist working in the last decade, you probably have a Gmail account and you've probably used GChat or Hangouts more than once in order to communicate with colleagues or co-workers or even sources on your laptop or desktop computer. Thing is, apps like Hangouts are a terrible way to communicate with a confidential source or contact, or if you're working on a sensitive story. This is because none of these chat applications use what's called end-to-end encryption, which, as we've seen in other Infosec Bytes videos, is where the encryption happens on your device, remains encrypted while in transit over the internet, and then decryption happens on your contact's device. That would be ideal, but instead, apps like Hangouts use client-server encryption, where even though the messages are encrypted on your device, they are still decrypted in the cloud, and then re-encrypted as they leave the cloud again, and then decrypted when they get to your contact. So, if they want to, the people who control the cloud, in this case Google, can read the messages, or they can hand them over to a government that asks for them. It would be much better if you could encrypt your chat messages from end to end, and, as it happens, you can, using a tool called Off the Record, or OTR. OTR is an encryption protocol, which means that it does encryption and only encryption. It isn't in itself a chat application. Instead, existing chat applications that don't have encryption can be upgraded by adding OTR to them. You can use OTR on Windows and Mac. On Mac, it's through a popular chat app called Adium, which OTR comes built into. On Windows, the chat app is called Pidgin, and OTR has to be installed separately as an add-on or plugin. But we don't recommend you use Pidgin or Adium on a Mac for a variety of reasons. Windows and Mac are not privacy-friendly operating systems. Windows 10 even records everything you type and sends it to Microsoft, allegedly so that Microsoft can improve the operating system for you. You can try to turn these features off, of course, but you'll never know if your OS is truly private. As well as this, all OTR can do is encrypt your chats, is ensure that your chats cannot be read as they pass over the internet. But it does not, for example, hide your location. You might be chatting on OTR, but by the very act of chatting you would still be giving away your IP address, because Pidgin and Adium on Windows and Mac don't go over Tor, the way Tor browser does. And OTR doesn't protect you if your computer is hacked. In recent years, serious software bugs have been found in the code of Pidgin and Adium, which make it possible for someone to hack these apps. And once you're hacked, it doesn't matter if you have end-to-end encryption, because the messages can now be read at one of the ends. All of this is why this tutorial instead shows you how to use Pidgin and OTR on the Tails operating system, and not on Windows or Mac. On Tails, all internet traffic goes over Tor anyway. So even though Pidgin and OTR don't hide your location, Tails is doing that already. Pidgin and OTR also come already installed and fully configured on Tails, so you don't have to go through a tedious process of downloading the software, installing it, and configuring its options so that it is safe to use, as you would on Windows or Mac. Once you have Tails, Pidgin and OTR are already set up for you and ready to use. And using Pidgin and OTR on Tails makes it harder to hack than if you were using the software on Windows or Mac instead, because it uses a special Linux security technology called App Armor and deliberately restricts Pidgin's access to most of your computer. That said, you should be aware that the software bugs in Pidgin's code are still there, and it does remain possible that using Pidgin could be insecure. If this is something that concerns you, we are including some links in the description so that you can read about the software vulnerabilities in Pidgin and efforts afoot to address them. So the operating system is Tails, the chat program is Pidgin, and the encryption will be carried out by OTR. But there's still something else we have to explain before we get started: the Jabber chat service. Let's take a moment to understand Jabber. Pidgin is a chat or instant messaging program. Instead of chatting in the browser, it's a separate program. You type a message into a box and press enter, and it appears in the message window, and your contact does the same, and that's how you communicate. But Pidgin isn't just for one chat service like Hangouts. Pidgin supports many different online chat services. For example, Pidgin lets you do IRC or Internet Relay Chat. And when you use Pidgin on Windows, it also allows you to chat over popular services like Facebook. However, support for these services has been removed on the Tails version because they are insecure. The service we are going to use is Jabber, otherwise known by its technical name, XMPP. This is a very popular and widely available chat service. The whole thing works as follows. When you write a message, Pidgin sends that message to a Jabber server, a computer on the internet that receives and forwards messages. The Jabber server relays your message to your contact and theirs to you. So to start using Pidgin, you'll need to create an account with a Jabber server, the same way you'd create an email account with an email provider in order to get started using email. There are lots of different Jabber servers, and you can choose whichever one you want. Be sure to research the privacy policy of the service before you use it to make sure it is suitable for your needs. In this tutorial, you will see two services being used, both of which have good privacy policies. They are Systemly, a privacy-friendly tech collective based in Germany, jabber.systemly.org, and Calyx Institute, a pro-privacy non-profit based in California, jabber.calyxinstitute.org. Jabber accounts look pretty much like email addresses. They have a name to the left, an @ symbol, and the name of the service to the right. If you set up a Jabber account at jabber.systemly.org, your Jabber address will look something like this. And just like in email, you can chat with people on other servers. Someone on Calyx can easily chat with someone on Systemly or any other Jabber server. In this video, we're going to set up an account on jabber.calyxinstitute.org. Before we start, we should point out that unless you have Tails persistence enabled, Tails will forget everything when you shut down the computer, and you will lose the Jabber account you've set up. So perhaps you want to enable persistence on Tails before proceeding. We have a video explaining how to do this, so if you haven't watched it, click or tap on the pop-up message to find that video. First of all, let's start Pidgin up. From the Tails OS desktop, you can launch Pidgin from the Dash sidebar, or from the Internet section in the Applications menu, or from the Favorites section, or by pressing the Super key and typing Pidgin and then pressing Enter. The Pidgin window should now appear. The first time you open Pidgin, you should get two windows, the Buddy List window and another window from oftc.net. This is because the first time you start Pidgin, Tails randomly generates an account for you in the OFTC Internet Relay Chat server. We don't need this right now, and we're going to disable it soon so that it won't bother you in future. First things first, let's set up an account. Click the Accounts menu and then choose Manage Accounts. Now you'll see a list of accounts. As we mentioned, there are already two automatically generated IRC accounts in this window. One of them is enabled. We're going to untick the box to disable it. With that done, we're now going to create a Jabber account. Click on the Protocol menu. As you can see, there is a choice of protocols. As we explained, we are going to use Jabber XMPP, so choose XMPP, which is the technical name for a Jabber service. In the username field, type in your chosen username. You may want to choose a username that bears no obvious connection to your real name. Give it some thought. We're going to use Tails_Infosec Bytes. In the domain field, type in the name of the Jabber server that you've chosen to use. In our case, this is jabber.calixinstitute.org. So our Jabber address will eventually be tails_infosecbytes@jabber.calixinstitute.org. Leave resource blank. Now, type in the password you're going to use for this account. Make sure it's a good password, and if you need guidance on how to create a strong password, we're putting a link to a guide in the description. Make a note of your password, because a very common complaint is that after setting up a Jabber account, users forget their password and lose access to it. You can also, optionally, ask Pidgin to remember the password for you by ticking this box. Make sure to tick this box, create this new account on the server. Now click Add. After a few seconds, a box will pop up asking you to confirm your username and password. You'll have to type them in again. When you're finished, click OK. Good work, you now have your Jabber account. Your new account will now be listed in the Accounts window. You can use exactly the same procedure to add as many accounts as you like, and you can always come back to your Accounts window to delete or modify existing accounts. Right now, your new account is offline or disabled. To take your account online, tick this box. You'll be asked for your account password, which we hope you remember. Your new account should now go online. The status at the bottom of this window should now read Available. The first time you start up your new account, a chat window will pop up with a notice from the Jabber server welcoming you to the server. It's just a machine sending you a message, so you can't reply to it. Once you've read it, close it. Now we just have to set some options to make Pidgin a bit more secure. You should see on your screen the main Pidgin window called the Buddy list. On the Buddy list, click on the Tools menu. Choose Plugins. When the plugin window appears, scroll down the list of plugins until you find off-the-record messaging. It should already be enabled. The box next to it should already be ticked. But we also need to configure it a bit. Click on it and then click Configure Plugin. The off-the-record messaging window should now pop up. Enable private messaging should already be enabled. If it's not, make sure to tick the box next to it to enable it. You should also tick the box next to Automatically Initiate Private Messaging and Require Private Messaging. This will ensure that even if you forget to turn on OTR, Pidgin will prevent you from sending unencrypted messages. Click Close and close the plugin window too. It's now time for us to add a contact so that you can begin chatting. All you'll need is the Jabber address of your buddy. As we mentioned earlier, it will look like an email address. Click the Buddies menu. Now choose Add Buddy. The Add Buddy window will now pop up. Type your contact's Jabber address into the Buddy username field. Ignore the rest of the options and click Add. This will send a request to that contact. They will receive it once they next go online. Once they accept it, they will appear in your contacts window and you can see when they are online. You can also see when they go offline and when they come online again. They may also make a return request, which will make a box like this pop up. You can authorize their request by clicking Authorize like this. Once you've authorized it, you will appear in their contacts and they can see when you are online and offline. You are now mutual contacts. You can add more contacts and they will be listed in here when they are online. You can also manage your contacts from the Buddy list. Right-click on a contact in order to see the available options. Use Cancel Presence Notification if, having authorized a contact, you would like to de-authorize them to prevent them from seeing when you are online and offline. Use Unsubscribe if you no longer want to see whether your contact is online or offline. Use Block if you would like to prevent a contact from ever messaging you again. And use Remove to remove a contact from your buddy list altogether. You can also choose to go offline by clicking on your status and selecting Offline from the pop-up menu. You can go back online using the same procedure. If you don't have your password saved by Pidgin, you will be prompted for it each time. Now that you have a contact, you can initiate a chat with them. Double-click the contact in the Contacts window. A chat window will open up. Before you type anything, make sure to start an OTR encrypted session. In the chat window, there are 3 places you can click to start one. They are the OTR menu, the OTR icon, and the OTR status indicator. They all do the same thing. All 3 will give you the same menu. Click one of these and then choose Start Private Conversation. The first time you do this, OTR will generate a private key for you. This may take some time, so wait until it's finished. When it's done, a new OTR encrypted chat session will have been established. You can click OK to close the notification window. Your chats are now encrypted and you could go ahead and start chatting now. But there's one further step: verification or authentication. Best practice when using OTR is to authenticate your contact before you chat with them properly. You will notice that even though you have started an OTR session, the OTR status says unverified. Verifying or authenticating helps you guarantee that it's the right person. So let's authenticate our buddy. Click again on the OTR button and then click Authenticate Buddy. When the Authenticate Buddy window pops up, choose Manual Fingerprint Verification in the drop-down window. You will see 2 long sequences of letters and numbers. These are fingerprints. One is yours and one is the supposed fingerprint for your contact. Send your fingerprint to your contact using a different communication method and get them to send you theirs. If it is someone you know and it's safe to do so, you might want to exchange them over an encrypted voice call, like on Signal, so that you can hear their voice and they yours. But you can also do it in text, in person, or through a trusted intermediary. And if there is no safe way to exchange fingerprints without exposing yourself to risk, perhaps you need to weigh the benefits of authenticating your buddy. Just don't use Pidgin to exchange fingerprints, because that defeats the point. Now, compare the fingerprint they send you with the one that appears on your screen. If they don't match, there is a good chance you've made an error somewhere, so double check. If it keeps failing to match, someone might be impersonating your contact, but in all probability they will match, in which case go ahead and choose I have from the drop-down menu and click Authenticate. The status will change to private. Pidgin should remember your fingerprint and your buddy's fingerprint, so it will not be necessary to authenticate every time. You are now chatting securely with Pidgin OTR. From now on, everything you type into the Pidgin chat screen will be sent over the internet end-to-end encrypted, and the only people who will be able to read it are you and the contact at the other end, unless of course someone is looking over their shoulder. It is possible to keep logs of your chats by saving the chat. There is even a setting in Pidgin that you can enable that would log your chats automatically. But if you're going to the trouble of encrypting your chats in the first place, your discussions are probably sensitive. By retaining your logs, you are raising the possibility that if someone was to gain access to your encrypted Tails USB at a later date, they would then be able to read the entire log of your sensitive discussions with your contacts. This is risky and defeats the point of encryption in the first place, so we recommend against keeping logs. You should understand, though, that keeping no logs yourself does not stop your contact from keeping logs on their side. If that is a concern, you should ask your contact not to keep any logs. And even then, you'll just have to trust them when they say they don't. But at least if you don't keep logs on your side, that's one less thing to worry about. When you are finished with the OTR session, you can choose to terminate the session by clicking on the OTR button and clicking End Private Conversation. It's good practice to remember to do this whenever you are finished using OTR. You can also choose to go offline by clicking on your status and selecting Offline from the pop-up menu. When you're finished using Pidgin, you can close it down completely by clicking on the Buddies menu and then clicking Quit. Some things to consider. Besides chats between just you and your contact, Jabber allows you to participate in group conversations or chat rooms. Unfortunately, OTR doesn't support end-to-end encrypted chat between multiple people, only 2 people. So if you participate in a group conversation on Jabber, OTR can't help you, and your chats won't be end-to-end encrypted. Pidgin also offers you the option to transfer files over Jabber. This can be an extremely slow process because Jabber servers are not really intended for large file transfers, so you probably will want to use a faster alternative. If you do transfer files over Jabber, you should know that, on Tails, for security reasons, Pidgin is only able to access files that are on your desktop. If you want to send a file, you can only send a file that you place in the desktop folder. And if you are being sent a file, you have to save it to the desktop folder. But you should also know that files sent over Jabber are not encrypted with OTR. So if you are sending files over Jabber and you want them to be encrypted, you should probably use an alternative method of encryption, such as PGP, before sending them. Depending on the Jabber server you are using, your Jabber server may offer you a Tor Hidden Service instead of a regular address. Basically, this means that besides offering the Jabber service on the regular internet, the Jabber service is also offered as a secret service on the Tor network. You can only use a Tor Hidden Service if you are using Tor, but this is trivial because you're using Tails, and so everything you do on the internet uses Tor. Using Jabber over a Tor Hidden Service offers some extra security. Not only will you be connecting to the internet over Tor, but the Jabber server will also be on Tor, meaning your connection never leaves the Tor network and never travels over the open internet. This makes it much harder to surveil. Furthermore, because it is all over Tor, it gets an extra layer of encryption from Tor. To use Jabber over a Tor Hidden Service, you need an onion address, a special Tor-only kind of address that ends in .onion. You then access the Advanced tab when you are setting up your account and enter the onion address into the Connect server box. Please find a guide in the description to how to use Tor over a Tor Hidden Service. And that's it for Pidgin, Jabber and OTR on Tails. We have a range of other videos explaining all aspects of Tails, what it is, how to get it, how to install it, and how to use all of its features. To watch these videos, click or tap on the pop-up message and choose the Tails video playlist. Thanks for watching Infosec Bytes. If you found this video useful, please share it widely with your colleagues and co-workers. To support the Centre for Investigative Journalism with a donation, please visit tcij.org/donate. And if you would like to watch our other videos, please go to infosecbytes.org or subscribe to our channel below.